4 Las Vegas teens plead not guilty to beating a classmate to death. Have you heard about this?
I saw a headline, but I don't know anything about it.
Oh gosh. So it's a story that's definitely making its rounds, and there were actually 9 arrests, or 9 or 10. I read conflicting information, and these kids beat up another one of their classmates. You have a mix of 17-year-olds and 16-year-olds, and then you have the victim who was underage, and I'm not going to give the names because they're underage, but they were caught on video in an alley, just horribly beating him to death. I haven't seen the video myself, but it says in a comment based off of what police have seen that, you know, it's a good amount of time of information, or it's a good amount of time that this goes on by. And in the video, you can clearly see the victim in this not blocking himself, which is a big sign of being unconscious or being rattled enough that you don't have your wherewithal to block anything coming
Well, it means
on.
it absolutely means you're not in a state of consciousness.
Yeah, and then,
absolutely.
So these kids continue stomping his head and beating him, and he's on the ground, and they're all above him, you know, circled around him. And he goes all the way unconscious, and they still continue.
We don't know why.
It doesn't talk about why. All it says is they were having a disagreement. They were arguing, and that these 4 that are charged with the murder, I'm assuming maybe they're the ones that were hitting and kicking his head, which ended up being the reason for him passing, is severe brain injury. He was alive for a day or 2, if I remember. He was declared brain dead, the fight occurred November 1st, and he was declared brain dead on November 7th. So he was being kept alive essentially by machine, hoping he would pull through. And these 4 kids got charged, and all 4 of them are pleading not guilty. It does not talk about anything. It just says that the altercation escalated, and he ended up on the ground where a whole bunch of people were around him beating him. So
I think every single one of them should have been charged, not just 4. Even if the 4 got murder, all the rest should have gotten assault with some additions,
or murder too.
Or manslaughter, something like that.
I'm a very, very, very big believer that if you were a part of a murder, I'll use the Gypsy Rose, case. I know we talked about this, and I know some people have commented with very different feelings in that situation, but it's a very real life and good situation. So, she did not take part in the actual ending of the life, like that situation where a life was ended.
No,
however,
she helped plan it.
However, if she was not a part of every event leading up to that singular event, it was impossible for that murder to take place. Therefore, if you removed her from the situation, removed her from giving him the time, the location, unlocking the window, the weapon, all those things, it would not have happened. So I think that is just as much of being a part of it as somebody that's holding a weapon. I don't see any difference. I think both people should be charged equally, because the crime couldn't happen if it wasn't for somebody unlocking a door and saying, hey, they're asleep, you can come in now. Like, that crime would have never happened without that. So you are just as part of it. You're equally at fault there, in my opinion. So I agree with you. I think every single person that was involved there, the only time I think in a situation like this where I wouldn't charge every person is if one person or however many people tried to stop them. If there was one person that realized like, whoa, this is past beating up, like stop, that's different. But if that didn't happen, then every single person needs to be charged.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I think all of them should be charged. Because they all continued. And if some people stopped and was like, hey, stop, yeah, then I don't necessarily think they should be charged with murder. But I still do think they should be charged with assault, a misdemeanor charge or something to have accountability for attacking somebody and being part of a situation like that. They all need accountability.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But
murder's very different from assault. So I agree.
Yeah. So the fact that they continued
when he wasn't blocking, continued when he was completely unconscious.
How old are they? Unconscious. Does it say how old they are?
Yeah, a mix between 16 and 17. 2 of them are being tried as adults. Yeah, they're just, older high school kids.
That's old enough that you know what you're doing for the most part, especially in a fight.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's old enough to know, without a doubt. I think at any age, somebody that is completely unconscious and not blocking them and literally looks like they're asleep. Come on, dude. I don't care if you're a 12-year-old. I don't care if you're an 8-year-old. Like there's no excuse for that. Do I agree with them being tried as adults? I don't know how I feel about that. I would really have to dig into this a little bit deeper. I know that they're saying, and this could be fabricated. I don't know. The defendants are saying that the reason why they did this to him was he had a knife and he was, slicing people. However, the cops say there is 0 evidence of a knife and 0 evidence of somebody being sliced. So
they just made that up.
Yeah, could be. What's really sad is another classmate came after this event happened and ended up picking the victim up and carrying him back to the school to get help, man. It's just a really sad situation because in a situation like this, like when I read this, every single person's lives are forever changed that were involved in this. These 10 kids, whether it was like, group type psychosis, when you get a whole bunch of people together and because there's so many people, they start making bad decisions, that herd mentality, whatever, they just ruined their entire life. They also ended a life. So simultaneously, you have essentially 10, 11 young or older kids that will never have a normal life again.
Yeah, it's very tragic, regardless of whether there's legal consequences for their actions or trauma and psychological consequences. It's tragic regardless, and to this boy's family. Honestly, obviously you haven't said anything like this, but it feels to me like a bullying situation.
It could be. This feels kid that could have started it. From some of the information I'm gathering, he might have thrown the first punch, but it still is too far. There's a very big difference between like throwing hands when you're younger, and stomping somebody's head when they're unconscious. That is a whole different ball game. When somebody is on the ground and unable to protect themselves, different ball game, dude. But I'm curious what you guys think. What a horrible situation. Let me know.
Yeah, it's terrible.